So you started your sect in Eastern Era thinking things would just flow naturally. Then you blinked, your followers are starving, your influence is practically zero, and some rival sect is already 3 times your size. Yeah, I've been there. So I've put together 10 tips that actually change the way I play. It's not that obvious stuff you'd figure out on your own after 20 hours. It's the kind of thing that makes you think, wait, why didn't I do this from the start? I'm Mary, and let's get into it. One of the biggest traps the game sets for you is making you focus so much on construction and combat that you completely forget to look at the people carrying your sect on their backs. Your disciples are not robots. They have needs, they have preferences, and if you ignore them, they simply stop working properly. Or worse, they run away. And then no wall or army can save your run. The happiness bar seems like a secondary detail at first, but in practice, it's a multiplier for everything you do. A happy disciple works faster, trains more efficiently, and doesn't give you headaches. An unhappy disciple is dead weight who will silently sabotage your progress. Therefore, keep an eye on that bar constantly, especially in the first weeks of the game, which is when things are still unstable. Food is the most direct factor affecting happiness, and the game has a layer of preference that many people ignore. Some disciples prefer vegetarian food, others have specific tastes depending on their origins. When you feed someone what they prefer, the happiness gain is much higher than just throwing whatever is available at them. It seems like a small detail, but over several days of gameplay, this difference is huge for your entire sect's performance. And besides food, don't let your disciples' requests pile up unanswered. When someone makes a request, it's a direct signal from the game saying that person is close to becoming dissatisfied. Responding quickly and building decent rooms for them to rest are small actions that added up create a cohesive, productive, and loyal sect. In the end, growing in Eastern Era isn't just about building bigger structures, it's about taking care of the people who make those structures function. If you feel like your sect is stuck at a point without being able to rank up, you're probably making the same mistake most players make, neglecting your disciples' internal cultivation. The game gives you many things to build and manage at the same time, and the arena ends up taking a back seat. But the arena is exactly what will unlock your sect's real progress. Without cultivation, you'll stay stuck as a weak version of yourself forever. The first thing you need to do is build the arena as soon as possible, and once it's available, change your disciples' routine so they spend the entire day in cultivation mode. This seems counterintuitive at first because you'll feel like you're losing productivity in other areas, but the return on this is much higher than any farming or gathering they could be doing during that time. Cultivation is a long-term investment, and the game rewards those who understand this early. Now, what really makes all of this work is the Dantian Awakening. This is the system that releases each disciple's internal potential and makes cultivation yield exponentially more. Without awakening the Dantian, your disciples train, but progress is slow and frustrating. With the Dantian awakened, internal efficiency rises, the sect's rank evolution starts to actually happen, and you begin to feel that you are truly growing within the game. And you know what's most annoying? Most players only discover the importance of this after hours wasted trying to understand why the sect isn't advancing. Don't be that person. Prioritize the arena, change the routine to cultivation, and awaken your disciples' Dantian as soon as you have the resources. This simple sequence is what separates an average sect from one that truly dominates the game. If there's one thing I've learned playing Eastern Era, it's that day one of your sect defines absolutely everything that comes after. That's no exaggeration. When you start without a solid food base, everything falls apart faster than any enemy attack ever could. Before you even think about training your disciples in martial arts or building that imposing wall, you need to get crops in the ground. wheat, cotton, whatever the biome offers you. These two resources are the heart of your sect in the early hours of the game. And while your crops are growing, don't just stand around waiting. Send your disciples to gather bamboo, wood, and stones right away. These materials are what will allow you to build your first structures, and without them, you literally won't get anywhere. The game cycle works like this. You gather, build, train, and expand. But if you skip the gathering stage at the beginning, everything else will stall. The real reason food is so critical is the happiness and strength of your disciples. If there's one thing I've learned playing Eastern Era, it's that day one of your sect defines absolutely everything that comes after. That's no exaggeration. When you start without a solid food base, everything falls apart faster than any enemy attack ever could. Before you even think about training your disciples in martial arts or building that imposing wall, you need to get crops in the ground. Wheat, cotton, whatever the biome offers you. These two resources are the heart of your sect in the early hours of the game. And while your crops are growing, don't just stand around waiting. Send your disciples to gather bamboo, wood, and stones right away. These materials are what will allow you to build your first structures. And without them, you literally won't get anywhere. The game cycle works like this. You gather, build, train, and expand. But if you skip the gathering stage at the beginning, everything else will stall. The real reason food is so critical is the happiness and strength of your disciples. Without a stable food supply, your sect's happiness plummets, your followers grow weak, and then any raid event or demanding mission will punish you severely. The game gives you this feeling that everything is going fine until the moment it isn't, and usually that moment arrives exactly because someone neglected the crops in the first few days. So, to summarize practically, as soon as you start a new run, plant wheat and cotton before anything else. Gather bamboo and stones immediately. Only after this resource flow is running should you think about larger constructions and combat development. It's a simple tip, but it's the kind of detail that separates those who struggle in the early days from those who dominate the Jianghu from the start. You spend the first few days carefully building your base, organizing crops, training disciples, everything working perfectly. And then a bandit invasion comes and destroys everything you took hours to build. It's not a matter of bad luck. It's a matter of not being prepared for what the game makes very clear is going to happen. Attacks arrive sooner than most players expect. There is no comfortable window of, I'll build defenses when I have time. The time you have is exactly the period between stabilizing your food supply and the first raid appearing on the map. Once your crops are running and you have a basic flow of resources, the next absolute priority is raising walls around your base. And walls alone aren't enough. Arrow towers and ballistas are what make the difference between an invasion you contain with ease and one that forces you to restart. They work passively, attacking enemies while your disciples keep doing other things. It's a relatively small resource investment that gives you enormous security, especially in the early stages when your warriors aren't yet trained enough to face attacks in the open field. The logic is simple. Resources stolen in an invasion delay your progress much more than the time you spend building defenses now. Every stone used in a wall is worth more than any stone you'll lose without it. Don't wait for the first invasion to happen to learn this lesson the hard way. Build early, build well, and keep your sect protected while you focus on growth. A sect with few disciples is a sect that will suffer. No matter how well organized it is, there is a clear limit to what a small group can do at the same time. And Eastern Era is a game that requires you to do several things simultaneously, all the time. Gathering, cultivation, construction, defense. The more hands you have working, the faster everything happens. Because of this, recruiting new disciples isn't something you do when you have time left over. It's a constant priority. The game offers several ways to bring new members to your sect, from the desert, from nearby cities, through random events. Whenever that opportunity appears, take it. Don't wait for the perfect moment or think you'll recruit once I have enough infrastructure. The infrastructure grows along with the number of people.
A new disciple who arrives today will be contributing to your base tomorrow, and that accelerates everything you are building. Especially in the early game, quantity matters much more than quality. You don't yet have the means to be selective with talents and attributes, and this isn't the right time for that. What you need are extra arms to gather resources faster, more people in the cultivation routine, and more bodies on the defense line when an invasion arrives. An average disciple who works is infinitely more valuable than a talent that doesn't exist in your sect yet. And as your sect grows in number, you'll notice that the pace of the game changes completely. Projects that would take days are finished in hours, your food production scales more easily, and your defense capacity rises naturally. Constant recruitment is the kind of habit that seems simple, but creates a huge advantage gradually. Don't let any recruitment opportunity pass you by. The 5-element system, wood, fire, earth, metal, and water, isn't just thematic decoration or cultural reference. It actually affects your disciples' cultivation speed, the flow of chi within your base, and can even cause the dreaded chi deviation if poorly balanced. It's not a detail, it's a core mechanic. What happens in practice is this. When you build and decorate your environments using materials and objects that align with the correct element, you receive real cultivation bonuses. A training room built with the right materials, decorated harmoniously with the dominant element of that space, yields much more than the same room built without that care. This means every construction decision you make has an impact that goes beyond visuals. Feng Shui acts as the system that organizes how these elements interact within your base. In the Chinese tradition that inspired the game, the goal is always to ensure that the flow of qi, or qi, runs freely through environments without blockages or imbalances. Eastern era translates this into concrete mechanics, where structure positioning and material choices create bonuses or penalties. A balanced environment accelerates progress. An unbalanced environment stagnates it. The good news is that you don't need to master this system completely on day one, but paying attention from the start makes a huge difference later on when your sect is larger and more complex. Start by observing which elements are being indicated for each room or structure and try to align your materials to them. Small decoration and construction adjustments made early build a base where cultivation flows naturally, and it's exactly this kind of accumulated advantage that separates a mediocre sect from a dominant one. One of the biggest sources of frustration in Eastern era isn't the difficulty of the game itself. It's the player making construction decisions in the wrong order and creating one bottleneck after another without understanding why. The game doesn't force you to follow a specific sequence, and this freedom is a trap for those who don't know what they're doing. The truth is that there is an intelligent construction order that eliminates almost all early day problems, and it starts with the campfire. The campfire is your initial anchor. It sustains sect morale when everything is still chaotic and fragile. Right after comes the basic hall, which is the structure that unlocks real sect management and gives you access to the administrative tools you'll need for anything that comes next. Without the basic hall functioning, you're basically flying blind. Next, the farm plot and storage house come together to ensure that food and storage are operating before the sect's demand exceeds your production capacity. Once the solid base is established, then you expand intelligently. The basic forge comes in to enable the first tools and equipment. The watchtower and defensive walls follow right after because, as we've seen in previous tips, attacks don't wait for you to be ready. And the sparring hall closes this second cycle, allowing your disciples to start combat training in a structured way. Each structure in the sequence unlocks something that the next one needs to function. What kills runs in Eastern era isn't a lack of skill, it's impulsiveness. Building the wrong structure at the wrong time means running out of resources when you need them most, or unlocking mechanics you can't yet sustain. Following this order isn't restrictive, it's liberating. You resolve bottlenecks before they appear and reach the middle phase of the game with a stable, well-fed, protected sect ready to truly grow. If there's one thing Eastern Era teaches you in a harsh way, it's that the difference between a sect that advances quickly and one that stays stuck in the same place is rarely about how many disciples you have or how good your defense is. Often, the real bottleneck is research. While you're trying to build advanced structures without having researched enough, the game simply blocks you, and then you realize you should have invested in research papers much earlier. The research system in Eastern Era is what unlocks practically everything that really matters in the medium and long term. The meditation pavilion, alchemy lab, more advanced defense towers. All of these structures depend on progress in the research tree to become available. This means every paper produced early isn't just a number on a bar. It's a powerful structure that will exist sooner in your base, providing bonuses and capabilities that other players who ignored research simply don't have yet. The part that many people don't realize is that research papers happen in parallel with everything else. You don't need to stop building or cultivating to research. It's a production line that should always be active in the background, with disciples assigned to it from the very first days. The sooner you establish this flow, the faster the research tree advances and the more strategic options become available to you. Think of it like this. Research is the invisible multiplier of your growth. Every unlock you achieve opens doors to more efficiency, more combat power, and more expansion capacity. A sect that researches constantly from the beginning reaches the mid-game with a range of options that seems unfair compared to those who neglected it. So don't treat research as a secondary task you'll do when you have time. Treat it as essential infrastructure from day one.
A very common mistake I used to make was treating all disciples as if they were the same, putting everyone to do everything and then wondering why nothing was advancing properly. The truth is that the game has a very detailed attribute system for each disciple, and when you ignore this, you are essentially putting the wrong person in the wrong role. A disciple with high spirit wasted on gathering wood is a potential cultivator who will never get where they could. The division that actually works is simple. Set aside one group for gathering and production with disciples of high strength and stamina who perform better at gathering wood, stone, and food. The other group, those with high spirit and agility, should go straight to cultivation and sparring. Spirit determines cultivation speed and chi accumulation capacity, so these are your future elite warriors and cultivators. Putting them in manual labor from an early stage is wasting the greatest asset your sect can have. Specialization becomes more important as the sect grows. Disciples with high perception, for example, perform much better in the forge and the alchemy lab, producing superior quality items. Identifying these talents early makes a huge difference because some of them possess hidden talents that only reveal themselves after a few days of training. Powerful passive bonuses like doubling chi accumulation during meditation or tripling the collection of rare herbs. You only discover these talents if you give the right role to each one. And the ideal training cycle suggested by the game makes this even clearer. 4 hours of sparring, 2 hours of meditation, and an iron ration results in approximately 3 times the base chi accumulation of a disciple. This only works when you have the right people in this routine. Not everyone mixed together doing a bit of everything. A specialized and well-divided sect grows exponentially faster than a sect where everyone does everything. Eastern Era has a cultivation progression system that seems manageable at first, but quickly begins to demand more than meditation and training can deliver alone. This is exactly where the alchemy lab comes in, and those who build this lab early feel a brutal difference in the growth rate of their disciples. Medicinal pills are not a mid-game luxury. They are an accelerator that most players discover too late. The alchemy lab produces pills with very concrete and direct effects. The chi gathering pill, for example, delivers 200 instant chi without any cultivation requirement, something you can use from your very first disciples to accelerate breakthroughs. The body forging pill adds permanent stamina. The foundation pill advances an entire sub-level of cultivation at once.
Each of these pills represents hours of meditation that your disciples don't have to do, which frees up time for other roles within the sect. And the impact of this goes far beyond the individual growth of each disciple. A sect with stronger warriors can face more powerful rivals, explore more dangerous locations, and bring back rare resources that would normally be out of reach. This creates a virtuous cycle. Pills make stronger disciples bring more resources, and more resources produce even better pills. Those who activate this cycle early dominate the game in a way that seems almost unfair to those who haven't discovered it yet. The idea of investing in alchemy early seems costly because it requires materials like spirit berries, herbs, and rare mushrooms, but it is completely worth the investment. Assign a few disciples with high perception to the lab as soon as it's built, and keep pill production active in the background constantly. You don't need to use everything at once. Stockpile, plan the most important breakthroughs, and use the pills at the right moments. This transforms your disciples from average cultivators into real pillars of your sect.